We're here at the PF&H Hokey Cokey swim run. We've got all of the team racing, and swim run is a really unique and interesting sport. Some massive challenges when it comes to fueling and hydrating. How do you carry this stuff? How do you eat and drink it when you're on the move, in and out of the water? So let's get our pool boys on and get involved.
Hydration is a real challenge in a swim run when compared to a normal endurance event, and there are three key challenges that face you when you're out on course.
Number one, running in a wetsuit. Not only is it going to cause some discomfort when you're on the land, but also it's going to really elevate your fluid losses. And this is because as much as it keeps you warm in the ocean, it's also going to really heat you up when you're running on land. And this increases your sweat rate, which increases your fluid losses.
Number two, carrying fluids is really difficult. Usually in a long endurance event like a cycling event or an ultra running event, you can carry bottles or you can carry a backpack, a hydration backpack. But clearly if you're wearing a wetsuit and you're in the water, you want to be hydrodynamic. So you can't have your bottle on the outside, you've got to have it stuffed inside. If it's on the outside, there's a possibility you'll drop it and then you'll be without fluid.
Number three, when you're jumping in the ocean, which is often very cold, it can make you pee more. This is called cold water diuresis and further increases your fluid loss.
There are things we can do to mitigate these problems, and the first one is to think about thermoregulation. So swimrun wetsuits are specially designed with zips down the front. When you come out of the water, if you've got a run, just zip it down, start cooling. If you've got a particularly long run, like a 10K, then think about stripping it right off down to your waist. That's going to cool you right off and keep the temperature down. If you get really hot on the run and you're going back into the water, you've got your wetsuit up, just before you go into the water, open up, let some cool water in, and off you go. By managing your core temperature, you won't sweat as much, so you stand a much better chance of not becoming dehydrated and having that affecting your performance.
When it comes to carrying fluids in a swim run, the best way I've found to do it is in a soft flask. A soft flask of about 500 ml is a good size, and some wetsuits have a pocket you can store them in, otherwise just tuck it inside your suit at the top. A pro tip for really long races, such as the Swimrun World Championships in Sweden, is to carry two soft flasks with you. The first you can use for water at aid stations as normal, and the second you can pre-fill with some drink mix powder, so that when you top it up with water later on, you've got access to carbohydrate and electrolytes when you need it.
When it comes to cold water immersion, there's not much you can do to combat the diuresis. However, you can go into a race really well hydrated by preloading with a strong electrolyte drink, and be really considerate of it when you're accessing water and fluid on course if you find it happening to you.
So now you've got your hydration nailed for a swim run, what about fueling?
So it's really important on an event like this with some long swims and long runs to fuel properly, get the right level of electrolytes and energy on board, especially on some of the longer swims and runs.
As with any endurance event, knowing your numbers is a key fundamental to getting things right. In this instance, what you're really interested to know is how many grams of carbohydrate you're going to need throughout this event. You then know how much you need to carry, where you're going to store it, and you can plan ahead to make sure you get it right.
So for longer swim run events, something like the World Championships in Sweden, which for me would be about an 8 or 9 hour long event, I would be aiming to hit my numbers at around 90 grams of carbohydrate per hour. Although it presents a real challenge, I try and make sure that I'm carrying all my own fuel and nutrition throughout the day so that I know exactly what I want, when I want it, and I'm not reliant on the aid stations on the course.
I also like to carry all of my fuel for an event if I can, and I'll rely almost exclusively on energy gels, PF30s, PF90s, and some PF30 gels with caffeine. I'll pair those with some electrolyte capsules and make sure that I've got enough to hit my numbers for both fuel and electrolytes every hour.
Most swimrun races last multiple hours, but are raced at pretty high intensity. So it's likely you're going to need somewhere between about 60 and 90 grams of carbohydrate per hour. To get a recommendation for you as an individual though, we've built a tool specifically designed to help you know your numbers. Head to pfnh.com, run through the fuel and hydration planner, putting information in about your event, your physiology, and we'll give you a recommendation of what you're going to need. Once you know your numbers, the next step is figuring out what you're going to take and how you're going to carry it through the race.
The best three ways I've found to carry nutrition are: one, many swim run wetsuits have a pocket built in, and that's ideal for carrying some gels. If you're doing a longer race, then think about a kangaroo vest, which is an undershirt with lots of pockets where you can carry lots of nutrition. And for shorter races, just think about using what the swimrun wetsuit has. Stuff some gels up the sleeves, maybe up the legs, and that'll get you through a short race up to about 2 hours.
You can make your life a lot easier when you're out on course by segregating your fuel before the gun goes off at the start of the day. I'll put my caffeine gels in the back of my wetsuit pocket, PF&H gels in the top pocket of my kangaroo vest, and PF&90 gels in the bottom pocket. When I'm out on course, racing really hard, trying to keep up with my swim-run partner, it just means I'm not rustling around trying to find something. I know exactly where everything is before I've even left the shore.
Swimrun events always take place in beautiful locations like this. And now it's very important that you don't inadvertently litter when you're out on course. It's super easy for gel wrappers to slip out of your wetsuit if they're not secured, so make sure you get them right in there. And follow race organisers' instructions to drop off your litter at aid station bins.
Managed to get a caffeine gel on board 10 minutes before the start, and that saw me through the first swim and first run, and then got a 90-gram gel on board for the 5k run on the other side. Nailed it.
So I took on a gel just before the beginning, had a full flask of thousands just before the start, so well fueled and hydrated at the start.
I was just saying, Neil, have a gel.
Yeah. Took 6 PF&H gels, 1 caffeine one just before we started. Potentially could have drank a little bit more, but that's just one of the challenges of swim run every time.
Managed to grab about 5 gels, I think, right on the course, and had a couple of my own as well, so I'm pretty sure I've hit my numbers, but we'll crunch them later and find out exactly how well I did.
What's happened there today is that Neil has won the race like he would have done anyway, just a little bit slower because he had to take me with him.
There you have it, how to fuel and hydrate successfully for swimrun. Thanks to John Yelland and the Mad Hatter crew for putting on a spectacular event down here in Cornwall. If you want to plan for your next swimrun adventure, visit pfnh.com and use our online fuel and hydration planning tool. If you want to book a call with one of the team, you can do that through the website as well.